Good afternoon, good afternoon. Good day to everybody. A happy 4th of July to all. And what are we talking about today? We're talking about decriminalization, the decriminalization of marijuana. And I was just thinking about that because of, I have my favorite place to sit outside and smoke. Unless you own your own house. And even then, it's not always the greatest idea. Most people, who are renters, when the property's not theirs, they go outside to smoke because it's usually against the rules of the establishment to smoke inside. And there are penalties for being caught smoking, whether it be causing a fire or setting off the smoke detector. Many people live in complexes where somebody sets off the alarm and it's a loud, obnoxious sound where you have to stuff your ears or something, or you're forced to go outside in the parking lot until the proper authorities can come to dismantle the alarm. Nobody wants to be the guy or girl who caused that, who set that off. So if you're a smoker, whether it be cigars, cigarettes, crack, meth, weed, I wouldn't advise those things. Okay, that's above my grade. I always stayed at the gate, alcohol and marijuana. But anyway, what am I talking about? I go outside like a good law, and it's funny because many police cars pass me by as I'm sitting there just smoking. In the past, I would get real paranoid, even if it was just a joint, even if it was just a roach. I would make sure I didn't have any weed in my pocket. I would get ready to eat the roach if I had to. That's how paranoid I was, because that's how much weed was criminalized. And when I talk about criminalization, I don't just mean legal penalties. I don't just mean getting arrested and facing a misdemeanor or a felony or jail time or probation or drug testing. What I mean by criminalization is a stereotyping, a personification, which results in a feeling of wrongdoing and paranoia. So even though alcohol can be more treacherous, I think more people kill other people when they're under the influence of alcohol, whether it be manslaughter at a pool table in a bar or recklessly driving. Yet when you drink alcohol, at least for me, for many years, there was a feeling of confidence. I feel like no bad can happen to you. Like everything is good. That warm, fuzzy, happy, content feeling that you had when you were in the womb, if you could remember that, because society did not criminalize alcohol. The only criminalization of alcohol is, of course, DWI, or what else? I'm trying to think of it right now. DW, crimes committed, underage drinking, selling to those are the criminal. Besides that, when you drink alcohol, society has not told you that you're doing something wrong. And so when you drink, you don't feel like you're doing something wrong. So as you get higher with the alcohol, you actually feel better. Where most of my life smoking marijuana, as when it was illegal, the higher I got, the more paranoid I get, the more I felt I was doing something wrong. And the only way you could enjoy the high is if you were in private, away from people. Because when you did it in public, or you're around people, or even if you were in a private place around people who didn't approve, it killed the high. It made you feel like you were doing something wrong because of the stereotyping and the criminalization of the person, and just the persecution. Oh, you smoke weed. Oh, you're a drug. Oh, you smoke. People effing with you when you're high. And I had that feeling most of my life. But now I don't feel that way anymore. I'm older. I don't have work a job where I have to be a role model anymore. It's like did I mention it's legal? I don't have that. I could sit back, kick back, and smoke and relax and enjoy it the way it's supposed to because of the decriminalization and the depersonification and the de-stereotyping of the habit. Yet, from time to time, I think about going back into the workforce, but I know that I'm not going to be the happy stoner that I am anymore. I might not even enjoy being high when I'm off duty because certain positions, certain professions, you have to like portray a certain role. You have to play a certain character, and that character, nobody can know that you smoke weed. And there's still stereotyping of weed because it's still it's federally not legal, and there are still companies that follow federal law and will not hire you or will fire you if you caught tested or have it. So it's still a criminalization. No, I wouldn't call it criminal. A stereotyping of a characterization of smoking weed. And that's why I hesitate going back into certain professions with responsibility because of the conflict of having to put that hat on, which I had all those years, that hat of responsibility, straight lace, going to work, being a role model, not always worried. I remember even one of the jobs I had, even though they didn't drug test, I used to get so paranoid when I would smoke on the weekend or Friday. I would think that they were going to piss test me. That's how I felt, even though they weren't going to do it. And I had these crazy thoughts in my head. Okay, I could smoke on Friday, but then I could smoke on Friday night, but then all weekend I have to drink a lot of water. So it's in case they give me a drug. That's the paranoia, the stress because of the stereotyping of weed versus alcohol. But I don't feel that anyway. I don't feel that paranoia anymore. I really can't drink the way I used to because I can't drink it at all anymore. Because all it does to me, it just makes me bloated and tired and make me and eat and get fat and get high and then get paranoid and drink some more. And before you know it, the only pants that fit me are sweatpants and my cheeks are puffing out. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Have a good day.